Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review of last night's new The Walking Dead episode, so The Walking Dead Season 7 Episode 6. Man, we are way too close to finishing this half season. And it was titled Swear, I believe, and of course it was going to be the Tara and Heath bottle episode, we knew. For this one, I gotta say that real quick before I even start, remember I made a video months and months ago, sometime during the summer, saying that there was some new casting news on a casting call about these two characters, Naomi and Jenny. Those two, the casting call for them was Natanya and Cindy, so I think that was pretty interesting, and it gives you a little bit of an extra look into their characters if you wanted to look back at what the casting call said about who those characters were and what their sort of personalities were. But talking about the episode itself, I loved it personally. Tara's been one of my favorite characters for a while now. I just really think the second half of Season 4, her story with Glenn there, and even early Season 5 is one of my favorite dynamics and stories in The Walking Dead, where out of guilt she was loyal to him to the point of trying to sacrifice her own health and safety multiple times. I really love the two of them together. And I really love the dynamic they had, which leads into one of my small disappointments about this episode at the end, but I'll get into that when I talk about the ending. And this episode did also suffer a little bit from the bottling, like every episode since episode 2 has, where it's like, it was good, and a lot of the other episodes, I don't think there's been a bad episode this season. It's like, they were all good, but they would have been a lot better. It feels like we're kind of cutting them together in the most lazy way possible. We have this footage of Tara and Heath, we had this footage of the Kingdom, we had this footage of Hilltop, footage of Sanctuary. How do we splice them together? And they're like, just put each of them in their own episode. That is like the laziest way to splice them together. And I do think that this storyline would have been better for most fans if it was spread out over a couple episodes, just maybe 10 minutes of this in each episode of this season rather than all of it in one episode and then nothing of anything else in this episode. So I do think that it could have been cut together better, and it did suffer a little bit from the bottling. Starting at the very beginning, we have this little girl, Rachel, on the beach, and I freaking loved her, and she's with this new character called Cindy as well, and they find Tara washed up on the beach, and Cindy gets Rachel to spare her, and Rachel's like, yo, I'm not helping you, fam. I won't tell on you, but I'm not helping you. So we flash back after the credit sequence to Heath and Tara eating in the RV. Heath is struggling a bit with what they did killing the Saviors, which is understandable. They went in and killed people in their sleep, and they don't yet know the depths, or at least Heath and Tara don't yet know the depths of their depravity, like most of the rest of our group does. So then we also have Tara making the Glenn reference, of course, where he said the first rule of scavenging is there's nothing left that's not hidden, you just have to find it. So we then go back once again, forward actually, sort of, forward in the future, to Cindy leaving food and water for Tara, and then Tara follows her back to her village, Oceanside. Now Oceanside is stacked. They have weapons out the ass. But they have horrible shots, because they try to kill Tara, and it doesn't work very well. I love their organization, though, the way they have bells miles out to draw walkers away, that they can set off, or the way that they use the dog clickers to have sort of a silent warning that they can all swarm like bees, get the children inside, and get the warriors out there with guns to stop an intruder. So I did think that was really cool. They are terrible shots, though. They missed a lot of shots. Then Cindy saves Tara once again, and we flash back once again to Heath and Tara on the bridge that we've seen in the that we saw in the trailer. And there's a sand pile full of bullet shells and walkers. I think it's cool how Heath sees the bullet shells and he's like, yo, there's something going wrong here. Well, he doesn't say that, but he's like trying to stop Tara, but he's just a little bit too late while she's pulling on the bag and it caves in. And we have these really, really cool looking sandwalkers. I really like the way they looked. The sandwalkers, getting into it later, but they did suffer a little bit from useless walker syndrome that we see pretty much every episode in The Walking Dead. It was noticeable here, and I've seen a bunch of people bringing it up for this episode, but if you look at almost any Walking Dead episode, it happens a lot. Fear the Walking Dead, I remember noticing it a hell of a ton. I think Fear the Walking Dead, I complained about it more than The Walking Dead because it was a bit more noticeable. But I'll get into that later when it becomes a serious problem in this episode. So then we flash forward once again to Netanya meeting with Tara and Tara lying to them about where she's from. Then Tara eats dinner with them a little bit later, and Tara and Heath are invited to stay. We find out all their men were killed, and Tara confesses that she is actually that she's actually from Alexandria, and that they took out these people called the Saviors. And we can tell from the way that Beatrice looks over as soon as she mentions the satellite place to Netanya that they know a little bit more than they're letting on. Or at least it seems that way, or it seemed that way to me. But Tara is then almost killed by Kathy and Beatrice, who were supposed to be taking her to find Heath and check out Alexandria. The scene where Beatrice is holding the gun to Tara was amazing. That was possibly my favorite scene. Just the emotion in it was great. And I've got to say, the acting from whoever the actress is portraying Beatrice, really good. I hope we get to see that character more, just because that scene was super strong to me. I really like that scene. Probably my second favorite scene is then Cindy saves Tara, but we have the Cindy and Tara discussion that I really loved. I really like that discussion. I feel like that's probably my second favorite scene. If not, it may even kind of surpass the scene with Beatrice holding the gun to Tara. I just thought that the acting from both was great. Just the emotion there, though. And I like what Cindy says as well, is like, there's no bad people, there's just people who forget who they are and make decisions to keep going. So I liked that. And of course Tara, from her experience with the governor, says, no, there are evil people. I know it, and that's why I need to get back. That's what I loved. I really, really loved how at least I took that as referring to the governor, as she knows that there are evil people because she saw the governor. So I'm going to go because I know that there are people out there, and Negan and the Saviors are probably like those people. So I really, really like that. Then the fight across the bridge sequence was really awesome. I like that. I like our flashback to Heath not abandoning Tara. Here is where the Useless Walker Syndrome, the UWS kicks in. The Useless Walker Syndrome kicks in when we have the walkers, like 3 of them grabbing Tara. She's not pushing their heads away from her or anything, but they're not biting her. They're just kind of pushing her back until they push her off the bridge, but they never try to bite her. And that is a big problem that we see almost every episode. That's the thing, it's really noticeable here, and that's why it's a problem here, and a lot of people are complaining about it here, but it's a problem almost every single episode. You go back and look at just about any single episode, and there are always walkers grabbing onto people, not just pushing them, struggling with them, but not actually going in for a bite or scratch when they could be. So it's a very, very common problem. You can tell when a walker is going to kill somebody, they actually lunge at them, actually go for the kill. And then there are so many sequences where the walkers are just not even trying. So that is, Useless Walker Syndrome was hard here. I haven't heard anybody complain about the walkers just miraculously coming up out of the dirt. That, I think, is explainable because it's been explained in the series before, that sometimes walkers, they're not necessarily asleep, but they go into sort of this dormant state where they haven't seen anything and haven't moved around in a long time, and they go into sort of this dormant state, and then something loud or something that catches their attention wakes them up, and they get up and start walking again, sort of like the ones in the sewer with Maggie and Aaron, the storm drain or whatever. So that as well is something that's explainable. I haven't heard anybody complain about it or even bring it up, but I just wanted to bring it up as well. So we had the fake out Heath death, and they had me there for a second. I saw the back of the walker's head, and I was like, oh my god, they did kill him. But yeah, so they had me with that fake out Heath death. And then Tara finds the PPP badge that nobody knows what it means. And I tried to make some guesses. I have no idea. I don't know what it means. I was like, when I was watching and we saw the PvP badge, like my whole family started yelling stuff. I was like, Prince Pudding Patron. It's like, Prince Pudding Patron. Heath is about to have a good time in this apocalypse. But yeah, then Tara at the end reaches Alexandria, and she keeps her word to Cindy that she's keeping the place a secret. What I did not like here, and this is my one big con for the episode, there was not enough emotion here. A lot of people, when the Saviors came in and killed a couple of their loved ones, a lot of people lost a lot of stuff, really. But I feel like Tara lost more than almost any of them. She lost her girlfriend. Glenn was definitely her closest friend. We see, if you watch back seasons 4 and 5, they didn't have much together in season 6, but seasons 4 and 5, Glenn and Tara's relationship is one of my favorite relationships in The Walking Dead. Just character relationships, I loved it. She was also pretty close with Abraham as well. She traveled with him for quite a while. I would have liked to see a lot more emotion in that scene that we didn't. And a big part of that, Eugene not saying anything, them keeping the sound sort of muted and drowned there. I get what they were going for artistically, but I think in execution it would have been much better if we actually got to see Eugene telling her what they lost. I think that would have been a lot more impactful, having to try to see him get out the words that Glenn and Abraham and blanking out very hard, and Denise are dead. Wow, I blanked out very, very hard there. Oh gosh. So yeah, I think that it would have been, I think that's my biggest con for the episode, is that we needed that emotional breakdown there, and we didn't really get it. Some thoughts on the episode for me. In the comics, I'm not going to spoil anything for the comics, but in the comics, there's this dude after a few years who lives in Alexandria, who moved to Alexandria from Oceanside, and his name is Siddiq. So I'm wondering, is Cindy the show version of Siddiq? Because that's what I was thinking a lot, seeing her character, and I really like Siddiq from the comics, even though he hasn't played a huge role. So that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if Cindy is going to be the show's version of Siddiq. I love the TV show's take on Oceanside as well. It's done entirely different from how the comics did it, and I think it is so much better. Not that I don't like the comics, it's just that I think when you make a TV show of a comic book or a book or something, I think that you're supposed to build on it. You're supposed to develop it more, go deeper into some stuff that you couldn't go into with the original source material. So I think doing this and changing Oceanside so drastically and making it like this is a great decision, and I was very interested. I loved Oceanside. It's difficult because in the comics, Hilltop is my all-time favorite group. I really love the Hilltop in the comics. But in the show, I felt that the Hilltop's introduction was pretty weak in the show, and I loved the Kingdom's introduction. And here again, I loved the introduction for Oceanside, the way they're organized and set up, the characters that we got to meet from them, just the look of it all. It was really cool. I really liked Oceanside here. The new characters I liked in particular, I really liked Cindy. I liked all of them. I liked Kathy and Natanya as well, but I thought Cindy was a really cool character, especially if maybe she goes to Alexandria, maybe she takes up Comic Siddiq's role. I think that'd be really cool. Beatrice as well, I thought was a cool character and want to see more of her just because I loved that one scene she had with Tara. And Rachel I thought was hilarious, so I really liked Rachel's character. This episode, though I loved it, there are some common struggles that it had, and I'm not going to take too much away from the episode as a whole because they're common struggles. They're struggles that almost every single episode of the show has. One, useless walker syndrome. Almost every single episode of the show suffers from walkers that do not really aggressively attack the main cast. And we had that definitely here, especially telling on that scene where they just push Tara back off the bridge, and it's just 3 of them on her for what seems like the longest time, not really trying very much to bite her. So there's that. And the second thing that is a common problem for almost every episode, at least this season, that we had here is bottling. Bottling this episode definitely took away from it, and I've said that with a couple of the past episodes. This episode was good. I'd in fact say this one was pretty great. This is one of my favorite episodes this season, and I've seen a lot of mixed reactions. A lot of people saying it was boring, they didn't like it. A lot of people saying they loved it and it was one of their favorites. A lot of people, I've seen a couple saying that they liked it and it was one of their favorites because it felt a lot like the old Walking Dead, and I agree with that. I thought it felt a lot like it felt a lot like a good season 3 or season 4 episode to me. Season 3 has a lot of problems, but there are good episodes. I think this felt like a good season 3 or season 4 episode. So I kind of liked the way it felt a lot. And I guess, yeah, it just had the problems with bottling. And it's one of those things where it's easily preventable because they could chop it together better. Pretty much every other show on TV doesn't do the bottle episodes like this. They chop it together. The Walking Dead chopped stuff together and didn't do bottle episodes for almost every season. Almost every season they'll have a bottle episode or two for things that don't fit in well with everything else, but for the most part it'll be mixed in together. This has things that could be mixed in together. It fits mixed in together, but they are just bottling the episodes, and it seems just like because it's cheap and easy. I don't know why. I'm just saying that it is cheaper, it is easier. I'm not saying that's why they're doing it. They could be doing it because it is their artistic choice, and that is definitely their right and decision. But it is a cheaper and easier move. Not that that's why they're doing it, but it is. So while I do have those complaints for the show as a whole right now, the show as a whole I'm still I'm really enjoying it this season. I do think we'd be better without the bottling, but I'm still enjoying it. I think everything we've seen has been necessary. I think it's all important. I just think in execution it maybe could have been done a bit better. But this episode, among that, I think just watching it and enjoying it, I enjoyed it a lot more than the Dwight and Daryl episode. And Dwight is my favorite comic character, and Daryl is one of my favorite TV show characters. So to have the episode about them be possibly my least favorite so far this season, and then also the Hilltop episode last week, which again was not bad, but I still like this episode much more than that. This episode is up there around the level of the Kingdom intro episode for me. And another problem I'm seeing with this, I almost forgot to bring it up. I didn't put it in my notes or anything, but I mentioned it last night after watching this to my family. I was like, a problem that I have with this episode is that I feel like this is going to be like the Kingdom episode, where we had a really good Kingdom episode in episode 2, and I liked all those characters a ton. I got really to the point of wanting to see a lot more of them. I thought that it was a really cool community and setup and everything, and then we get introduced to them, and we haven't seen them for 6 episodes. It doesn't look like, I can't tell if we're going to see them for the next 2 episodes. We haven't really seen anything of them in the promos, so we might see an episode of them and then not see another episode of them until like 4 or 5 months later. That's pretty rough. And I kind of feel the same way with this, where I'm not totally certain that we'll see Oceanside again for a while. But we could, because I have an interesting, it's not really a theory, I guess it kind of is. I have a little bit of an interesting theory before I get into my final score. I almost forgot to bring that up because I forgot to put it in my notes too. But I have been thinking, there was one scene that didn't make total sense to me in that sequence, and I'll probably say this again in my prediction video this week, was when Cindy was talking to Tara. She said, why'd we just kill those 2 men that came near us? Now that, we know that Rick and Aaron are out on a run, and Rick and Aaron hop over that fence in some woods that says to just don't enter, don't fuck with us. So they hop over that fence going into what looks like woods. I'm wondering if Rick and Aaron are those two men, and they didn't actually shoot them. They maybe think they did or something, or maybe they captured them. Cindy just thinks they shot them, because unless they cut out a scene where they killed 2 people, I don't remember seeing it. So I think that it would be actually very cool if that turned out to be Rick and Rick and Aaron find and work something out with the people of Oceanside. I think that would be really awesome, and it would tie back into Tara knowing them and everything. And Rick could be like, we can figure something out. Tara's with us. She saved your people or was kind to your people, didn't kill them, whatever. So I think that'd be really cool. Beyond all that, I guess that's all I got this week. So for a final score, it may be a little bit high, but I really enjoyed this one. So I'm giving it 9 larders out of 10. So yeah, 9 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed this one. It did suffer from some problems, don't get me wrong, but I really personally enjoyed it. So that's it for this week's review. I hope you guys liked it. I went pretty damned in depth there for me. So like if you did like this video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of this episode. I know there are going to be a lot of mixed reactions, a lot of things you liked and didn't like about it. Yeah, I definitely get that. So yeah, comment down there what you thought of it, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more of The Walking Dead, both TV show and comics. Really excited for this next comic issue and the next few, because the comics are going very, very good right now. Only 2 episodes left this season 2. Oh, I am so not ready for this half season to end. Yeah, sub and follow on Twitter. Follow on Twitter if you want. I'll try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. That's it. So thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.